Welcome back here to the channels Tapolho Azul and Super Acadêmico, and today I'm going to make some comments about the politics in the Star Wars saga. I will use the chronological timing of the stories, so I will comment the political aspect there that I want to call attention for. So let's go, and don't forget to subscribe to the channels, ring the bell, comments, share, and take a look at the description, the link that you have there. Okay, let's go. Let's begin to talk about the first episode, the episode 1, the Phantom Menace. Here is in Portuguese the title, since I'm in Brazil and I'm using the Disney Plus Brazil and Disney Plus as reference, but the iconography is well known everywhere. So in this first episode, we have the presentation of the main characters that will develop the political thriller along the saga. We have the Queen Amidala. We have the senates, the senators, the position of the chancellor, and most important, the Senator Palpatine, a senator from Naboo that appears as the diligent senator from Naboo that wants to help the Queen and their people from Naboo, but actually he is the Darth Sidious, that he will in the shadows become the most powerful being in the galaxy that will influence the lives of everyone. And it's interesting that the political aspects that first shows is the interference of the trade federation, a corporation that is so powerful that has the power to blockade entire planet to receive resources, and also has a representation in the Senate. So that's something that is subtly George Lucas is showing us that the corporations are becoming more powerful than the politicians. They own the politicians because of the corruption, the financing of the campaigns, and so on. So this is the first aspect. And of course there's the speech of Palpatine's speech that's very familiar in politics critic. The promise to end corruption. That's funny because actually he's the source, the main source of this new wave of corruption in the Galactic Senate. Then we have the Attack of the Clones, episode 2, where 10 years later from the first episode, you have the Chancellor. Palpatine is still the Chancellor 10 years later. That's a long term, and he has created in the shadows the possibility of breaking a war that will divide the galaxy, and he used these threats, that's fake threats of a war, to engage in the seas, in the conquer of power and all over. So the main thing here is that he uses his ability to convince, to allure the other senators to his side, to create the army, and also he was responsible for commanding the army 10 years before, without the Jedi knowing about that. The Jedi are very much very much ignorant about everything that's happening, and his abilities not only with the use of the dark side of the force and so on, but his ability to be in many politics positions with many allies that get convinced by this possibility of growing, possibility of getting more power. So he used the others' greed to to be able to ascend more and more in power in politics. So there's the place, the part place of the senators, that they have to believe in the threats of the separatists. Believing in these threats, they allow the creation of the army. So the Jedi can do nothing but just command the army, and that goes to the next step, which is the series, the animated series Clone Wars, which I believe it has 7 seasons, and it was able to, the show, the series was able to develop the structure of the Clone Wars very well. So the Attack of the Clones, there is the first act of the war, and in the third movie, the Revenge of the Sith, there is the final act of the Clone Wars, with the transformation of the Republic into the Empire. But the Clone Wars shown in 7 seasons how slowly the Republic was decaying into the Empire. It wasn't like a fast blow. It was something that took many years, 2-3 years to happen. And the way that the politics is developed in the series is very smart. It's very simple and smart in the same way, because it shows the view of the people that are left in poverty, in slavery, in difficulty, while the Senate is discussing, trying to achieve their own goals. Of course, there are the other senators that are really interested in the good of the people, but mainly is the presentation of a way of understanding politics, where uh, the Chancellor, the Palpatine, are very much able to be in many places with many representatives, many people that represent him in both sides, because we know outside the story that he plays the head of the Republic, and also the head with the proxy of Konduku, the head of the separatists. So he plays both sides so well in the political arena, that convinces both sides that the other is the threat. So they engage in the war that is actually uh, a false cause. There's no real threats to one another, but they believe one another is the threat. So it's very well developed, and each word that presented in the show is also very well developed. This idea of the chaos that is programmed, that's put into the spirit of the people, and so the people so afraid that they embrace the violence, the war. So it is going to develop in a dramatic way that ends with the next installment, which is the Revenge of the Sith, the episode 3, which presents how Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader, mainly the main problem that's presented in the movie. But also there's the sentence, the phrase, the line that Senator Padme Amidala says, that's how liberty dies, with thunderous applause. Because all along the episode 2 in the Clone Wars, what Palpatine did was create the fear of disorder, the fear of war. So he comes with the solution of become the orderly, the order empire, the secure empire. So it's very beautiful how George Lucas managed to do that, present that. It's very, very pedagogical, very educational how they present that, because in history many times that the liberty and the freedom is lost is because of these political arrangements, not so much of from a strike, but more from a development that is slow and nobody sees until it's too late. And in history, you have many of these. And next, right when it ends, the Revenge of the Sith and then the Order 66, we have the recent animated series, The Bad Batch, from the Disney Plus. It's in the second season, and it shows the beginning of the empire, the first days, the first weeks, the first months of the empire. And so it shows how the politicians are put aside, and then the military and the strength of the military forces are put in place to take the decision. So it shows that the slow transformation of the Republic into the Empire it has continued in the development of a more explicit form of military violence that are replacing the politician, replacing the diplomacy, replacing the debates to solve the problems. So it's funny that in reality much of the things that we live today here in Brazil and other places has this taste of like the creation of an artificial polarization, artificial struggle between different ideas that create a sensation of fear that justifies the use of violence, but it's still in development. I haven't watched at all. I'm just begun the second season, but I think it's great. Next is the movie Han Solo that happens in I think 5, 6 in the first 10 years of the Empire. I don't know for sure. And but there's not much of the politics. There's more like a side of the galaxy, the people, the regular people, trying to survive with the means they find to survive. And so it shows that the Empire is trying to try to impose order in a galaxy that is essentially plural, with a variety of ways, and opens to many things, since the Jedi are not available anymore, of criminal and not very nice things to happen, like slavery again. So I think this most aspect is the most visible aspect of the politics of the Star Wars in this movie, is that the ascending of these criminal activities alongside with the Empire. Next we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series in Disney Plus, which happens, that I know for sure, that's 10 years after the Empire, after the Revenge of the Sith. So the story is not very much about politics, but much more personal story about Obi-Wan. But there is the presentation of the role of the Senate that is still there, as each time less, each time more figurative, like a illusion of action for the Senate, since the Senate, Bail Organa, the Princess Leia, father, adoptive father. He uh, he, he doesn't have many things to do in the Senate, because the Senate no longer acts since the emperor makes the decision. So it's very nice to see in the story that these aspects, the decay of the power of the senators, in the growth of the power of the central power of the emperor, with his henchmen, the Darth Vader, gaining power, even as having this personal problem to solve with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Next we have the other another animated series made by Dave Filoni, a brilliant storyteller. Rebels, Star Wars Rebels. That the political aspects is more like the taking action of the rebel senators, like Momata and Bail Organa again. Leia appears in the show too, and I think it's it can shows like that the Empire are more and more needed to use the force, use the violence. It's 15 years, 15 years after the Revenge of the Sith, and 5 years before the New Hope, and when the series begins and shows a galaxy that has again the rebels alongside with smugglers and pirates, and these people are trying to survive as much as fight against the Empire, and the Empire tries to impose force, and the politicians are like left aside in the society, and the militaries and the central power of the Empire is the one that takes the things and the decisions, makes the decision. So this aspect shows in this political aspect of the Star Wars in these shows is a reaffirmation and a confirmation that the politics in the way that the speech and diplomacy and the respect to one another are more and more left the room, so the violence, the dictatorship are more present more and more. And especially when it comes to this show, Andor. In Andor, those are 12 episodes of a great story of people that sacrifice their lives so they can regain a galaxy that's free again. And it's very powerful and very sad in the same way, because it shows how the politics, the ability of talk and search for the common sense are almost abandoned. So the only thing that's left is the bureaucracy of the violence of the Empire. And I think that aspect of the politics in the Star Wars is very well presented in this show, because it shows just the system workings, pure rational robotic rationality, acting so they can brutally make people do what they want. And I think the episodes in prison, for example, is very strong, because they demonstrate how they submit, how they make the person just do what the machine wants. The machine that's literally a machine, and figuratively machine, a machine of the state, of the totalitarian state that tells what they want, that they need to do. And also there is the hope that is imply in the story of the people rebelling, people saying no, people sacrificing so they can be free again. So this aspect of the politics in Star Wars is very represented here in Andor, that culminates in the Rogue One. In Rogue One, a Star Wars story, it is an action movie very well made about the one little mistake in the Death Star, but is also shown the parts, the role of the rebels, that sacrifice their lives, including the Andor, the Cassian Andor, and also the pickery fighting, the political pickery between the rebels, the rebels groups that does not agree, especially the figure of the extremist Saw Gerrera, that also comes from the Clone Wars series and the Rebel series, and in an Andor. It's like he represents the need of extreme freedom, like an anarchy that's not, it's against the empire but is not in favor of the back of the republic. He wants freedom for all the people, all the different planets. So this aspect is coming very subtle in the film, but I think it's very very realistic, because even in the most unified rebellion there are differences, and that's a good thing. That's a thing that the empire never wanted. Any totalitarian authoritarian regime wants is difference of opinion, and that's a thing that should be present in society. Next we have New Hope, the first movie that was made, and that's the political aspect that's most present is when the 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 the, the bureaucrats, the governors, they are talking about the Death Star and so on, and they say something like the Senate, the rebels will gain sympathy with the Senate, etc. Something like that. The Senate is still there, and if the rebels gain some attention, some sympathy from the Senate, and then Moff Tarkin comes and says, the Senate is no longer a problem, no concern. The Emperor just dissolved the Senate. I remember that something that a very notorious thing to dictatorship do is dissolve parliaments. So here in Brazil, for example, in all the coups that happened here, always the parliament was dissolved. But the emperor took 20 years to dissolve the parliaments, because the whole galaxy, a lot of representatives that helped him in many ways all along the way. So he just dissolved the parliaments and then the senates 20 years after the creation of the empire. Here in Brazil, we have the first coup from Getúlio Vargas. He dissolved the parliament, the parliament right after, and the militaries in 1964 also closed the parliaments right after the coup, and it's happened many places. So it's very interesting. So this closing and this dissolving of the parliaments, of the senates, is the final step to total dictatorship, and also is the moments where the rebellion says we got nothing to lose, just have to fight and win this time. So they blow up the first Death Star and get his first victory. In The Empire Strikes Back, considered for many the best movie of all the movies of the Star Wars movies. There's very little space for politics because it's in the middle of the war. The Empire is striking back, is pushing the rebellion to flee. So it's a very low point for the politics in Star Wars, but it is there. It's because they want to regain the freedom in the society, the galaxy. So the politicians are there, but they do not appear. Finally, in the Return of the Jedi, we have the return of the politicians with the first appearance of Momata in the movies. She is the one that are leading the plan to attack the second Death Star. So she's there, as I said, leading the rebellion alongside with other politics that are not shown because there was no time to show. So today in the recent uh, Disney Plus shows, there are more places to show this aspect of Star Wars, which I think is cool. I think is very nice. I like very much. So it ends with the destruction of the Death Star, the Emperor dying. Everybody thought that he was dead. And Luke redeems his father, saving him from the dark side. So, and now what? Now we have the opportunity to develop this time of the Star Wars universe, where it's right after the Return of the Jedi, and the Mandalorian and the other show about this people, the Mandalorian, the book of Boba Fett, is shown a galaxy that is being restructured, reconstructed with new ideals, new things that need to be done to put some order alongside with freedom, which is problematic because you have 20 years of dictatorship and suddenly you have freedom again. It's it appears very nice, but you have criminals, you have problems, you don't have the Jedi anymore. So if you don't have the Jedi to keep the peace, you have to do some other way. And well, the way they found is the Rangers that was presented somehow, and also the people trying to do their things in their own way, like a Wild West way. Dave Filoni and Joe Favreau shows this environment as like the on Western, in the same way of the Book of Boba Fett, where the same environment, where there is a new kind of order, the galaxy, but also there are the criminal groups that are always around and seizing power. So you have like a standby moment in politics. It's not shown in the shows, but it's obviously a problematic matter. And I think that in the future events you see. Here we have a animated series about the appearance of the resistance. So the resistance is like a group of people that want the republic to work, but obviously it's not working. Somehow it's not working. We can say that's the influence of Palpatine that is still in the shadows, as we know. But I think it's because it was no concern of developing the political aspects of the galaxy in a way. Então, have to reconstruct the Senate, reconstruct the society, reconstruct the relations that were broken in the Clone Wars. So it was 20 something years of breaking relationships that need to be reconstructed. So they failed since they needed a resistance, a military, paramilitary operation of resistance. Then we have the Force Awakenings, Force Awakening, that the episode 7, and there's no political aspect of this universe is presented, so it is very problematic to analyze how it be important for it. Because if there's one thing that George Lucas and the others storytellers have shown along all these movies, shows, series, is that the political aspect is essential to construct the story. So here you have no political backgrounds. You know that the First Order, that's the new empire, the First Order, they say that the Republic allows disorder in the galaxy, but they don't say how. They don't show how that works. How the appearance of the First Order comes to respond this disorder in a political way in the daily problems of the societies of the planets. So you have just the appearance of threats and resistance. So, but you have no political background to support now what is happening in the movie. So that's a problem. Here in The Last Jedi, I think the author, Rian Johnson, tried to bring some aspects of the political scenario by showing, portraying the 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 problem of the high society that exploits the low society in some way, very subtly, in a way that not everybody like that. And also you have the presentation of the idea that the people that produces arms, guns and armaments, they profit from both sides, the First Order and the Resistance. And that's a political aspect, but that was not very well developed. Could have been more well developed. And also the part, the role of the Jedi in the thing is not very well developed, because if Luke Skywalker was reconstructing the Jedi Order should have some political part to play in the politics in the galaxy, because they have the role of the peacekeepers, so it's not very well developed. So I think that's mostly because of that many people didn't like, the sense that something was missing in the story. But I think it's necessary to re-seeing that the political aspects of this dispute between the Resistance and the First Order was what the Republic does support the Resistance. The First Order want to bring back the Empire. Well, and finally you have the Ascending of Skywalker. I think it's that title in English. I think it's that. I don't remember. Well, in these movies, there's the last one so far, and there's again no mention of the political scenario in the galaxy at that moment. Just shows that somehow the Empire was going to get back in place with a lot of armaments and it was all destroyed by the Resistance. but it doesn't show how the would gain the confidence, the trust of the galaxy again without the politicians, and so the political aspect was left aside, left behind. And I think this movie was quite a mess. There were a lot of things that could be better well explored, but well, I think it's missing something when the politics it's not there, because something very important in the saga. Well, that's what I had to say about this politics in Star Wars. I hope you enjoy, and if you have some comments, put on the comments. Write something so we can discuss in other videos and in the text. Don't forget to subscribe, give the like, please, and also share and take a look at the description below. So bye bye.